Hi, Chisme family. It's Marisa. And we're sitting down today to have a little 2020 recap. And I want to share this process that I have with you guys where at the end of the year, I like to sit down with myself and take into stock what I've learned from the year or throughout the year. And I don't set goals for the next year, to be quite honest, because I know that life's going to change so much, and so much really can happen in a year. I look back on my life a year ago and it wasn't what it is now. And I've been really blessed, and I'm very fortunate and very grateful to be able to say that because of what everybody has been experiencing across the globe, not just due to the pandemic, but just to life in general. And earlier today, I took some time to write down what I learned in 2020, and it just kind of came to me, and I just put it down on paper. So if you all hear some paper rustling in the background, it's just me grabbing my sheet so that I can reference it, because I know I'm going to go off on a tangent and kind of explain to you guys why I put these down as something that I learned from. And y'all already know, all right? I live in the ghetto, all right? So you're going to hear some cars in the background, some people fighting, crying, you know what I'm saying? People just living their lives, all right, to the full. So let's get on with the show, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to have a real quick sip of my whiskey over here. So good. All right, so 2020 taught me to set boundaries and to stand by them. And I did this more so with the people that I love who have refused to either understand me or to respect my boundaries. And this has been one of the hardest things that I've had to do this year, because I had to do it with people that I had never done it to before in my life. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there in my family who have, negative feelings towards me and ideas and thoughts and all these things, because I chose to make these actions, because I chose to cut people off in my life. And I did it because it was necessary for me so that I can achieve the growth that I need to. Because if I stay connected to people who always live their life in fear, that fear latches onto me, and it prevents me from taking those risks that I need to take in my life to be who I want to be, to reach and attempt to live to my full potential. Because, honey, we've always had a fire. And for the greater part of my life, I've always been told it's too much. And I finally reached a point where I was just like, you don't understand. And you're never going to understand. And I can't be a part of this anymore. So that was a major thing I learned in 2020. And to tie into that, I learned to stand in my full power and to embrace her. And I didn't know how much I was holding myself back, because I was trying to fit into this box that other people built for me, as opposed to saying, I don't need your box. What I need is my life. Another thing I learned this year, and this next one, I learned it because, I have the great privilege of having like a select few number of friends who are very close to me. And they're not afraid to call me on my shit, but they do it in such a loving and caring way that it's just like, man, like I just, it made me realize that I need to show people that I care about them, to tell them that I care about them. Even if it's just a check-in text to be like, hey, how are you? Like, how's your mental? How are you feeling, honey? Like, just to tell them I love them, Another thing that I learned this year is to trust the process. And that's just really kind of life. Sometimes things can be really overwhelming and you don't know where things are going to go. And that's where you just kind of need to let go and live. Just let things be as they are, not what you expect them to be. You can't form or force them to be something other than what they are at that moment. You have to take things at face value. The next thing is to embody the belief of falling 9 times and getting up 10. Let me tell you though, 2020 really came for your girl this year. Let me tell you. But I'll tell you what, guys. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fall. Don't be afraid to get bruised and bloody sometimes. And that ties into another thing that I wrote down, was to do that thing that terrifies you. And through my 20s and now going into my 30s, I hated working out as a teenager, to be quite honest. Like, if it wasn't involved in some kind of creative outlet, I didn't want to do it. But now that I'm older, I've come to realize like that fitness is just, it's an outlet of its own, and it's a great way for me to kind of maintain my health. But I found that I really enjoyed boxing this year. And so I finally decided to take the plunge and join a boxing gym. And I love it. I'm obsessed. It's great. I have great coaches. They push you. They help me work on my technique and my form. But it also helps with my mental to keep me centered. And another thing that I learned in 2020 was to always try to live from a place of love. You're probably like, girl, what does that even mean though? Like, I ain't got this time to be loving on all these people. And like that's not what I mean, all right? What I mean is to try and approach every single situation as if you were the other party involved. And how would you want to be treated and cared for as you're going through whatever it is that you're going through? It could be something as simple as, that senior citizen that's like walking up to the door, right? And they're like 2 seconds behind you and you just hold the door open for them. Just like little acts of kindness that can really make a difference. I'm going to tell you guys a story. I used to be a bartender when I was in college, and, I was working the bar top, and like I'm just kind of going around, and I have this gentleman that sits down, and I still remember what he looks like to this day. He sits down, he orders a burger and a beer. So I get him his beer, I put in his order for his burger, and he finishes his meal. We did not talk once, with the exception of me taking his order, checking in on him. That was it. And he pays his tab. He's getting ready to leave, and he stops me and he says, my wife recently passed away, and someone told me to come see you, and I'm glad that I did, because it made me feel so much better. I don't know his name. No idea who he was. I don't even know who told him to come see me. But the fact of the matter is, you never know who you're having an effect on, who's watching you, who just needs to be around you sometimes, just so that their world doesn't feel like it's falling apart. Sometimes it could just be an absolute stranger that reminds you that you are worthy of love and goodness, and that there's still that out in the world too. And for those of you that ask, no, I've never seen him again after that fact. And that brings me down to embrace the magic in day-to-day life. And you're like, girl, magic, what is this? Like Hogwarts, Harry Potter? No, honey, no. I mean magic in the simple things and these are things that I genuinely enjoy, okay? Being able to go out for a walk and just feel that it's like fresh outside and feel the sunshine on my face, hear the birds in the background, taking my dog Marvin for a walk, taking him to the dog park and watching him play with all the other dogs and just having like a really good time. Watching other people in conversation and just like watching their facial expressions and seeing them enjoying life for the moment. That's the kind of magic I'm talking about. And that ties into never underestimating the value of a genuine smile. It can be contagious. Even in like an email or a text message or what have you, I read it somewhere that a smiley face makes the person receiving it smile. So when I know that like the office has had like a stressful day, like you can just feel the tension, I'll throw a little smiley face at the end of my email. You know what I'm saying? Add some happy flavor up in that email. Another thing is, this is a big one. This is a big one that I learned, because if you grow up in Latin culture, y'all, and you're like in your late 20s, early 30s, and you haven't found someone or gotten married or started having your kids, you're not with it. Something's wrong with you. You're falling behind. And I'll be honest with you guys, I feel like I'm finally at a point where I've figured out who I am and what I want out of life. What I want out of a life shared with someone. But in order to do that, I had to realize that I am more than the norms that my culture dictates on me. I'm so much more than that. I'm also a strong believer that when people ask me this, like, what are you? Who are you? And I'll just be like, I am everything and I am nothing. I say this because given the right conditions in any circumstance, you can be the absolute best or the absolute worst. The decision's up to you. And yeah, there's going to come a point where I will be nothing. Nobody's going to remember my name, who I am, what I'm about. That's okay. But at this moment, I am everything. And I am nothing at the same time. And this last one ties into the beginning about like setting your boundaries. And it's to take others' expectations of me and not hold on to them. We live in a society that tries to define who we should be instead of just allowing a blank slate for us just to be. And I know there are going to be probably a lot of you who don't agree with that, because you're going to be like, we live in America, we can be whatever we want. Yeah, we absolutely can. But will you take the steps necessary to be your own person? Because I'll tell you what, guys, it is hard to stand out here on your own. And to have so many people not understand who and what you are and what you're about. I decided in 2020, like towards the middle to the latter half of 2020, that I just didn't like going out to bars anymore, to hang out with my friends. Music's too loud. People make bad decisions. And it didn't seem like a good expenditure of my time. I love my friends. They're great. My soul fam. But like I told them, and I had to get real with them for a minute to be like, guys, like this does nothing for me. We can go have dinner, we can meet up at each other's places and hang out. I love that. I love that quality time. But having to go out to a bar and, wild out, it didn't feel like me anymore. And they respected that. And I love them all the more for it. And so those are some of the things that I learned in 2020. I want to hear what you learned. What did you experience? What moved you in 2020? I know a lot of y'all have your thoughts and your feelings about this. So get at me through the Anchor app. Leave me a message. Find me on Instagram at Chisme and Cheladas. Shoot me a DM. Go on the YouTube page, leave some comments. Shoot me an email. Go to the website, chismeandcheladas.com. My email's on there. My phone number's on there. You can text me if you want. I want to hear about your 2020 and what moved you. What made you a little bit more you this year? I want to hear it all. All right, guys, I'm going to close it up there. Have a great rest of your year. Please be careful on New Year's. I know we're all ready for 2020 to be over. 2021. Ooh, honey, where are you? Who is she? Um, yeah. All right, guys. Closing it out for real this time. Sending you all my love. Be good to yourself. Bye.